Hey, what's going on, welders? Natalio Cortez with Let It Shine Welding. I got some downtime and wanted to talk about a few things that have helped me to be a better welding instructor period. I'm gonna talk about 3 good things and 3 bad things that I've seen and have helped me and hurt me at the same time. I'm also gonna talk about student, what we look for in a student, how to be a better welding student or student in general. Being a welding instructor, educator, teacher in general, you have to realize what you're stepping into. For some people, it's a calling. Others, it's a job. And in my opinion, in my experience, it's a little bit of both. Uh, in my case, I was fortunate to have training in the Marines as far as instructing how to talk to people, how to look for different learning styles and things like that. For a lot of us out here in the field, we come from the field, we teach a helper here and there, we show them how to do this, how to do that, and talk in field language, if you guys know what I mean. Versus coming to a schoolhouse, now you're dealing with high school graduates or even adults, both male and female, and along with parents as well, believe it or not. Even after the students graduate, 18, 19, 20 plus years old, still living with mom and pops, and or have parents checking in on them with you. So you got to be ready for that. So one of the things that really helped me was to take myself back and put myself in that chair, in those boots. When I first got introduced to welding in high school, I was nervous. I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know what to think about it. I didn't know nothing about it. So I had to put myself back in those seats, those boots, so that whenever I did receive students, I didn't know if some of them had experience or didn't know nothing about it until we got introduced to each other, talked a little bit about why we're here, our purpose while in this class, our objectives, what we're trying to get out of it. And I understood, that I had to talk to a few a certain way, others that had a little bit of experience, I could talk to a different way. And it took me to think back what I used to think as a student. Not every student is going to be the same way that I was or that I think, but I do have to look out for those individuals that have little to no experience, some that do have experience, some that are afraid to talk, not know what to ask. So you got to start talking to those individuals as if you were sitting in that chair. With learning styles, you have visual, audio, and hands-on. Welding it's a lot of hands-on, and but at the same time, you have students that you can tell them, hey man, this is what you're doing wrong on this weld. I need you to do this, and boom, they got it. They go back into the booth, bring you back a weld. Awesome, man. All right, now let's move on to this next thing. Other ones, you try to do the same thing. They bring you the same thing over and over and over again until you go in there and show them, literally hold their hand at times to guide their positioning, their electrode angle, whatever the case may be. Literally hold their hands from time to time, and still they don't understand it, until they see you do it. So you got to try all different learning styles, identify what your students' strongest learning style is, if it's visual, audio, hands-on, and work with them. If somebody comes to you or to me with a weld coupon, and I say, hey man, this is what you did wrong. Can you explain what happened here? No, I don't know what happened. All right, cool. Let's go to the booth. Let me see what you got. So right there is audio. Now you're visually looking at their welds. Now you're coaching them one-on-one. And the last thing is for them to watch you. And now you put all 3 into one. And at times you got to do it over and over and over again. There's been times where I've brought other instructors to help me out. Like, hey, look, man, I try my best to explain this to the student. He's still not understanding it. Can you break it down? And believe it or not, a thing that I've been saying for hundreds, thousands of times, and another person comes and tells them the same thing, for whatever reason, they understand it right away. And it's like, dude, I've been telling you that for this whole time. Why didn't you not understand? But sometimes it just takes that other person to help. So in the Marines, we have something called breaking things down Barney style, to where anybody can understand it. As welders in the field, we have our field language, certain things that we say and we understand each other. When we come to the schoolhouse, we can't use a lot of that language. We have to break it down, even how to put on a welding hood. For a helper, we're like, hey man, put on your welding hood. Cool, we got it, put it on. To somebody here that doesn't know nothing about welding, has never put on a welding hood, you have to explain it to them like, hey man, this is like putting on a snapback hat, baseball cap. You undo the snaps, fit it to your size. This is how you bring it down. This is how you adjust this and that. And literally show them step by step on how to do certain things. Even a tape measure. A lot of people have never used a tape measure, and if they have, they don't know how to properly use one. So breaking that down, you never want to assume that they already know the things that you know. So now I talked a little bit about the good things. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the bad things that have hurt me in the past. And like I just mentioned in the previous video, assuming was one of my biggest things. I assumed my students understood me. I assumed they knew exactly what I had in mind for them to do in the booth, in the lab, in the classroom. And once we got going, it's like, hey man, why aren't you doing this? Why aren't you doing that? Well, I didn't know we had to do that. Well, I thought I told you guys to do this. Yeah, but that's all I know. I don't know past that point. So assuming that the students understand you is a big thing that hurt me in the beginning. So now what I do is whenever I tell them something, I make them, repeat it back to me. Hey, we talked about this. So what's one of the first things you guys are gonna do once you get out in the lab? Oh, we're gonna do this and this. All right, what are you gonna do next after that? And does everybody understand? Cool. All right, let's hit the lab. Another thing that hurt me in the past, in my earlier years, was just talking about a certain weld, a certain process, a certain technique. Like I mentioned, I assumed that by me explaining to them, hey man, the reason why you're getting this undercut is because you're long arcing right here. You don't have the electrode within that contact to work distance, arc length. Depending on the process that they were doing, I would tell them, me visualizing what I'm telling them and assuming that they're also seeing the same thing that I'm seeing in my mind, which was not at all the case. So instead of just talking about it, like I said, have them repeat it to you. If they can't repeat it to you, all right, man, well, let's go to the booth. Let me see what you're doing, and then I'll show you what you're doing wrong, and then you can see me doing it correctly, and then I'll watch you do it correctly. So don't only talk about it. Make sure they understand by them repeating what you said and showing you in the booth if it needs to be. As a welding instructor, students going to bring you coupon after coupon after coupon, and having a small amount of students help out with a smaller class, you're able to get to a lot more people one-on-one. But once you get past the 15s, 20s, and more in one class, it can become overwhelming, and sometimes you might lose track. And I know I have. And when a student brings me a coupon, I remember them welding that, and I'm about to go help somebody else out. All right, man, just move on to the next one. Let me help this person out, and I'll get back to you. And so I honestly forgot at a few times to get back with those students. They moved on to the next weld, and I forgot to talk to them about their previous welds. So you don't want them to assume that weld was good, and even if it was gradable, you still want to talk to them about why it was good, why it was bad, and if they have to redo it again, let them know why you have to redo it again and what to do, what not to do on their next weld. I could keep going on about the instructor side of things, and I will make future videos to go along with it. But now I want to jump on to the student side and talk about a few good things that I've seen help students to be better students, not just in welding, but in general, and also some of the bad. So being punctual, it's a must, man, not just in school, but anywhere in general. And that's one of the first things that we tell our students, that a lot of the companies that come out here to hire them, they're not only looking for welders. They can find welders anywhere, but they want somebody that can be there on time, punctual, and have a good work ethic. I'll talk about the work ethic in the next one, but being punctual, being there on time, so that way we can start class on time. We don't have to wait on nobody, have to repeat ourselves. We can stay on our schedule. So it really helps out when the students are punctual, in class early, take their breaks, think about what they did good, did bad, and then go back after that second half, finish out the day strong, clean up your booth, and after a last minute talk with your instructor on the good things that happened that day, bad things that happened that day, and call it a day, but be punctual. Communication is big anywhere, and we always tell our students a closed mouth doesn't get fed. Whenever you have 15 plus students in your class, you can only get to so many at one time. So I've always noticed, the one students that are laying in the back of the classroom, going in the back of the shop, and you go to check on them, ask them, hey man, you doing all right? Let me see what you're doing. And they say, no, I'm good. I'm just gonna keep practicing. And a day goes by, and still you haven't seen none of their welds. And a lot of the times, man, like I mentioned before, you have to put yourself back in those seats. A lot of these students, especially the ones that are coming out of high school, they don't know how to talk to people. You intimidate them, believe it or not, with your experience, your age, your knowledge. So they really don't know how to come and ask you certain questions or ask certain things. And we tell them all the time, there's no such thing as a stupid question. And but still, a lot of them are they don't feel comfortable coming to you and asking you what they think is a stupid question, when in reality the whole class might have the same question. So one thing that I do is, whenever a student asks a question, whether it's in the lab or in the classroom, one-on-one, after that first break or the next day, I write that question down. And even though I answered the question to that one individual student, I bring it up, hey, yesterday or earlier today, so-and-so asked me this. Does anybody have that same question? And that helps that one student see the other students like, well, man, maybe I'm not the only one. And that also opens up the doors for the rest of the class to start asking questions and communicating better with you. One of the last things I'll talk about is work ethic. In the schoolhouse, we set the example, man, by showing up on time, communicating with our classes, students, and also once we get out in the shop, start working with them, start prepping up your coupons, checking on machines, checking on booths, this and that. But at the same time, hold them accountable for their work ethic. Some are right out of high school, so they don't know no work ethic. Some of them have never had a job up to that point. And there are some others that have had a job and have some bad habits. But the way that I treat my classes is, whether I have them for a month, 2 months, whatever the length of class, let them know, hey, look, man, whenever you guys go from class to class, it's like going from one foreman to another foreman, from one company to another company. And in the time that I have you guys, these are the ground rules. Whenever you do this, I expect you guys to do that. If you do this, it has a consequence. And let them know, don't set the bar high, set the standards, and don't let nobody come past those lines, those standards. And if so, like I said, they got consequences, good and bad. But the work ethic, man, you can see it from day one, and it's up to us to pull those aside and not just pull the ones that are doing bad. Pull the good ones, acknowledge them in the classroom, in the lab. Like, hey, man, today so-and-so took some initiative to, sweep up this area right here. I didn't even have to tell them. This other individual helped out this other student with his machine, so I pat him in the back. I give them the props. Now, I did see some other students that were walking around. I really didn't see you in your booth. Hey, man, this is the only time that I'm going to tell y'all. Next time, it will reflect on your grade sheet, or whatever the case. So the last thing I'll talk about is a little bit for both instructors and students. Becoming a welding instructor, man, it's something that I've always wanted to do. Welding, I fell in love with it from the day that I, got my hands on it. I wanted to learn everything there was to learn about it. I wanted to do every type of weld there was. And I was fortunate enough to get to certain jobs that certain welders took me under their wing and taught me the ways. And my welding instructor, Mr. Jim Jones, back in high school in 2001, when I graduated, man, he took the time and put in the effort to show me a skill that has helped me become who I am today. At my last year in high school, I didn't know what I was gonna do after high school. and welding saved my life, literally. Career-wise, it's got me to where I'm at right now. And so I wanted to become a welding instructor so that I can pass that same knowledge that was at one point, passed down to me. Somebody gave me a chance, and I wanted to give that same chance to everybody else that was willing to be coachable. So being coachable as far as students, you have to be coachable, man. You can't come into a schoolhouse expecting or thinking, I know everything, I'm just here to learn this or that. I'm not gonna listen to that part because I already know that. No, if you have that mentality, then you're gonna get what you put into it. So when I was a student, I tell my students, become a sponge, absorb everything, realize who you're talking to. A lot of these instructors have at a minimum 5 years of welding experience. I've had 20, 30, 40 plus years of welding experience. So you might want to listen. You might want to listen. The main thing that I tell my classes, man, is you give me the respect that you expect from me, and we'll have an easy day, great learning experience. I hope this video helped some of you guys out that are thinking about becoming a welding instructor, or if you're currently a welding instructor. I don't claim to be the best instructor, but these are some of the things that have helped me in the past and continue to help me. I'm also a sponge, man, so I'm still learning from my fellow instructors and students at times. Students, if you're coming to a technical school, trade school, become a sponge, man. If you have a little bit of experience, no experience, or some experience, forget it all. Start from scratch, learn the ways, learn by the numbers. Get comfortable with it and ask questions. All right, so again, thank you guys for your time. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe to the channel, and see y'all guys on the next one. Let it shine, baby.